Go to TAPgiles.com to learn dreams, engage my services, and support the channel. The idea is you have these items A, B, and C, and they have a sorting value between 0 and 1. So if this is higher than the others, it will sort up to the top. And if this is second highest, it will go to the middle. Third highest, it will go to the lowest. But then if you make C higher than B, now it says C above B. And if they're both exactly the same value, if I put them both to 0, they won't collapse on top of each other or anything. They'll still kind of stack in some sort of order. So the way I and others have been doing it so far is using exclusive gates, but this does it in like a completely different way. And because we have this extra dimension of the actual position, we can kind of use that to our advantage. There was one thing I thought I'd try, which is a new sorting technique which might be more or less instantaneous. So let's say we have, this is an item object with a chip on it, so it's got some item logic in this chip. Let's give it an input thingy and a value slider, and that's like the value of it that we want to sort by and have the highest number at the top of like a list. Maybe we'll just display a list sort of thing. I'm going to keep this purely logics based with this part of the logic, and maybe we'll display the item list later on using different logic. So this will just display like what number it thinks it is in the order. So got a number displayer. I'll make it bigger. If this is like the last one in the list, that means that there will be others above it like that. And what position would this be in the list? It would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. And that one would be first because there's nothing above it. That one would be second because there's 1 above it, and so on. So we kind of just want to count how many items there are above it, and plus 1, and that will be this position. So let's try that. So we want to just use a tag, and then we'll count how many tags there are above this item using a trigger zone. And we'll put it into the box shape. And it'll start above like that. And reach all the way up. So this will just be an item, and it will look for items. And this number required is kind of the maximum number it will care about. So if we just whammy that up to the maximum, and now this will send how many of those tags it found in this zone. So if we just display that for now, number required into the number displayer. So there's none at the minute. If we just like copy one of those, now it's found 1. Now it's found 2, but that's only found 1 because there's only 1 above it, and so on. So now we have a list of numbers all correct. So that's cool. And then we wanted to add 1 to it just to make it more human readable, as like a place in the list or a place in the race or whatever. So just add 1. So this is in first because there's nothing above it. And now it's in 7th because there's 6 above it. And it won't detect itself because it's just that position is where the chip is, and that isn't going to get its own chip. So that's fine. But we want to like move this now to, or maybe a secondary thing, to the position based on this value here. We want to kind of display that here, but move this up and down to relative to the other items, and then that will sort itself out. So I'll have, so this will be there, and then this displayer will be separate just out here for now. Let's just adjust this so that it goes down almost to the same point it's at, and then then when we have these other items, then when it goes past it, now it's in 6th place because it's got 5 above it, and so on. So as it changes, as this value changes, it will move this up and down, and that will affect what place it thinks it is. If we just group these up, then we can position it based on this value within this group. So if I have a keyframe, I'm just going to put a mark or something up here. So it's around here. And we turn on zones through show and hide, and that will show us all the zones. There we go. So that's the bottom of that cube is like the highest we can go. So I'll use that keyframe to move that to the bottom of there. That should do. And now we'll power that with this, with that value slider. So we can like move that value slider, and you can see that it's moving the box up and down depending on what that value slider is saying. So now we can have multiple of these with their own value sliders and their own displayers, and they'll all show what position they are. Oh, we can put that in the group as well. If I were to scope in here and just copy these, then let's turn on X-ray, and now I can see the value sliders properly. So this one's 0 isn't the same as this one's 0, and this one's 1 is actually 1 notch above because it's starting from 1 notch above. So actually we need it won't be as easy as that. What we need is to have a load of these, but all of them will start in the same position. This is grouped up as one thing. If we now teleport this to a particular position, like over here, and we'll just call that the start. So this will move up and down within whatever group it's in, but we want to teleport a separate group to this starting position that contains that moving up and down. If we teleport this whole thing, then the value sliders and number displays and stuff will all be on top of each other, and we won't be able to test very easily. So instead, I will just add a squiggle and group that up with that. So now that affects the cube within that group, but then this group can still be moved to this position. So let's put that down to 0 again. And now we teleport that group. So that will have to be, this chip is sort of stuck to that sculpt. So we want the teleporter to be separate to that. We don't want it to affect the sculpt itself. So I'll just put it there, and that will target the start position and affect that group, this whole group. So now that moves there, but we can independently move the cube up and down like that. So now let's make a load of those. And that all has the places, and then we play time and it goes to the starting position. And now we can affect where they are. So now this one is position 1 because it's got a higher number than all the others. And then if we make this a little higher, that's got position 2, and the others are joint third because this one is above all those but below that one, and so on. So if we have like a whole thing going on, they're all kind of just automatically sorting themselves, and they've got these values coming out. These cubes are moving based on these values here, and then sending out a signal of where they are positionally, like first, second, third, and so on. So that's kind of sorting themselves. Cool. So in reality, these would come from, like, if this is a race, that would be how far through the race they are. And you just wire that into this node, like a percentage of how far through the race they are. And then on that car or something, you could tell that car what this number is, and it could show it in the UI somehow above the car or something. Now we've got a sorted position in the list of items. In the next video, we'll learn how to display items in that order on the screen. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. Go to patreon.com/TAPgiles to learn something new every day.